Good afternoon. I'm Jacqueline Linder, Director of Nutrition Programs and Food Safety Training. I'm here to share with you your food handling training to give you an opportunity to better understand food safety and why food safety is important. How food becomes unsafe? There are basically three hazards from the environment that causes food to become unsafe. They are biological hazards, physical hazards, and chemical hazards. Again, biological hazards are tiny forms of life that you can see, taste, or smell. They include things like bacteria, viruses, parasites, and fungi. There's also physical hazards. Some physical hazards occur naturally in food, such as bones in fillets and fruit pits. Usually, physical hazards occur when objects fall into food. Some examples may include things like jewelry, glass, brittle plastic, ceramics, and bandages. And then there's chemical hazards. Chemical hazards in your food bank or agency can contaminate your food. And these include things like cleaners, sanitizers, and pesticides. These are all things that cause food to become unsafe. How people make food unsafe. One of the primary reasons food become unsafe by people is poor personal hygiene. Poor personal hygiene is transferring pathogens from your body to food. This is the number one cause of foodborne illness outbreaks. And then there's cross-contamination. And cross-contamination is transferring pathogens from one surface or food to another. Then we have time and temperature abuse. That's allowing food to stay out too long at temperatures that are good for pathogen growth. Poor cleaning and sanitizing is another way that people make food unsafe because it transfers pathogens from incorrectly cleaned surfaces to food. Your role in keeping food safe is to make sure that you avoid any of these hazards and follow good personal hygiene as a practice. The most common food allergens are milk, eggs, soy, fish such as bass, flounder, and cod, peanuts, tree nuts such as almonds, walnuts, and pecans, shellfish such as crab, lobster, and shrimp, and wheat. These are the most common food allergens. The protein that cause allergic reactions are called allergens. Many different food items can cause allergic reactions, but these 8 food allergens will cause the most reactions. And these are called the big 8. Again, they are milk, eggs, soy, fish such as bass, flounder, and cod, peanuts, tree nuts, wheat, and shellfish. So what we want to do when dealing with allergens is to always prevent cross contact. Please clean all of your surfaces thoroughly. I'm going to move on now to the next section in our book concerning keeping food safe. And we're going to talk a little bit about using your gloves correctly. Gloves can prevent the spread of pathogens. However, if they're used incorrectly, they will also spread pathogens. So the first thing you want to do is properly wash your hands thoroughly. You should wash your hands for 20 seconds. You always want to have water that is as warm as you can stand it, never cold or too hot water. You want to make sure that you have good soap, hand soap to wash your hands with. You want to make sure that you have paper towels to dry your hands or a hand dryer. And then you want to use a sanitizer as an added preventive from spreading pathogens. And then you want to make sure your hands are clear of any jewelry or anything of that nature that may cause pathogens to get trapped underneath your jewelry. Then you want to put on gloves. Make sure the gloves are the best fit for you. They're never too tight or too loose. And then you're all set to go to cook that great meal. What do you want to do if you're sick? If you're sick, you could spread pathogens to food and equipment. This could make your clients and your coworkers sick as well. So don't let this happen. Tell your director or supervisor if you have been diagnosed with a foodborne illness. You must also tell your director or supervisor if you have any of these symptoms, such as vomiting, diarrhea, jaundice, which is yellowing of the skin and eyes, or sore throat with a fever. If you have any of these illnesses, please stay home. Controlling time and temperature during your receiving time. You want to make sure that your temperature of your food be controlled from the minute it's picked up from the donor or food bank to the minute it is handed to the client. That includes the time that food spends in the warehouse, on a truck, and the agency. Think of this as a cold chain that is, if broken, can result in foodborne illness. The cold chain is broken whenever food is held at temperatures between 41 degrees and 135 degrees Fahrenheit. This is called the temperature danger zone. A thermometer is the most important tool for controlling the temperature of food. 3 types of thermometers are commonly used in food banks and agencies. They are the infrared thermometers, they are the thermocouples and digital thermometers, and they are the bimetallic stem thermometers. So these 3 types of thermometers are important in keeping your food controlled by temperature. Whenever you're coming to the food bank, you want to make sure you have a very clean vehicle and that you inspect the vehicle before loading it with food. It should be free of any kind of pests or any kind of rodent that may try to travel in your vehicle with you. You need to make sure that there is no such things as oil in your car or any type of fluids that you use for your vehicle in your car. Make sure there's no equipment that can possibly contaminate the food as well. This will help us in keeping food safe. Here are some general storage guidelines. Always store refrigerated food at 41 degrees or lower. This includes cut produce as well. Keep frozen food frozen solid. The temperature that is recommended for frozen food is 0 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. Store food only in designated storage containers. Use containers that have included things like chicken or beef. You don't want to reuse those containers unless they've been properly washed and cleansed to store other foods in them. You're going to always store food at least 6 inches off the floor and at least away from the walls. You want to store your ready-to-eat food above raw food like your meat, your seafood, your poultry, any type of food like that. And you want to do the same thing when storing these foods on pallets or any other storage shelf or any other storage containers. Store food only in containers made for food and wrap or cover your food before storing it away. We're going to talk a little bit now about checking your cans for defects. Very often we would get product that may come in a little bit of damage. Some is too damaged to be given to our clients and our customers in our community. So canned food that is damaged or defective can cause a foodborne illness. Here are some common can defects. You want to discard these cans if they have any of these problems. Severe dent in can seams, deep dents in the can body or crushed cans that are not stackable, any cans that have missing labels, unreadable labels due to stains or tears, any cans that do not have code dates, any cans that are swollen or budging at the end, and cans with holes or visible signs of leaking that it's indicated by a stain label. You also want to discard cans that you see rust that cannot be easily wiped off. These are the common conditions that you would find in cans that are defective. Also, when checking your produce for defects, you want to look for things like mold, any kind of decay or rotten produce. You want to look for bad odor or smell bad odors. You want to look for any type of signs of insects or anything, bodies of insects or eggs, severe bruises, the skin that may not be intact. You want to look for cut produce, not stored at 41 degrees or lower. And you also want to look for produce that may be packaged in unsafe packaging like a garbage bag. You want to always look at those particular things to make sure that the produce is safe for consumption. So I'm going to ask a few questions at this juncture. And I want you to just think about the answer, whether it is true or false. When picking up food from the food bank, you must make sure vehicles are clean, free of pests and other items that can contaminate food like oil, antifreeze, and garbage. Is that true or false? Another question I like to ask, if your food that has been picked up from the food bank, can that food be stored with chemicals like bleach, detergent, or other cleansing chemicals? Is that true or false? Foods like dairy, should it be stored at room temperature? Is that food safe to consume if it's been sitting at room temperature? Is that true or false? What about those who are picking up food from the food bank and returning that food back to your location, maybe your agency, or wherever your distribution is held at? Should your driving time in unrefrigerated delivery vehicles be kept to less than 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, or 120 minutes? Just think about that for a moment. When traveling with food that you picked up from the food bank, it is considered more safe if you only travel the shortest possible distance from the food bank to your location, which is 30 minutes. If you are traveling more than 30 minutes, you should want to have, if you have food that must be refrigerated, a freezer blanket for your food to keep that food at or cooler or some other element that's going to keep that food at a safe, consumable temperature. I'm going to just ask another few questions. I think you guys are doing a great job, and we appreciate your partnership for working with us. But I'm going to ask you a couple more questions. And you just think about whether or not this is true or false. Food can be stored in the hand washing sink. If you have a hand washing sink in your kitchen, do you think it is a proper storage area for food? True or false? What about what surfaces must be cleaned and sanitized? What about the refrigerator door, or the prep table, or the storage shelf, or the garbage container? Certainly, your prep table must be cleaned and sanitized before prepping any food that would be cooked or prepared. That is going to keep your food safe, and that is going to prevent foodborne illness. So we're going to just move to one last section, talking about transporting food, making sure, again, I want to reemphasize this. This is something that I see probably more frequently than not, is that when you are preparing your vehicle to come to the food bank to retrieve food, please make sure your vehicles are clean on the inside. Make sure your vehicles are, again, free of pests, such as insects and rodents. Please do not bring pets along with you, especially if you're picking up food for delivery. And then remember the things that may contaminate food that may be already in your vehicle, like oil, antifreeze, or wiper fluid. So you want to check for those things. You want to make sure food is properly stored in the proper storage containers. Never reuse containers that have already had meat or poultry, meat that may have bled, like beef or chicken that may have some blood droppings in it. Please always wash your containers if you're utilizing containers like plastic containers to put food in that you retrieve from the food bank. Never store your raw food over your ready-to-eat food. Do not store your allergens over the other products, because allergens should always remain on the bottom, not above other food items. And you want to keep refrigerated food at 41 degrees or lower. You want to keep your transportation or driving time down, if your truck is unrefrigerated, to 30 minutes or less. And you just want to check your canned items to make sure they are free of any type of defects that can cause foodborne illness. At this time, I want to say that I greatly appreciate our partnership with our agencies. At any time that you have questions concerning food safety, or foodborne illness, or anything related to keeping your food safe, please feel free to give me a call. I thank you for this time that we've been able to share in learning more about foodborne illness. Now you will have an opportunity to show your knowledge by taking a 20-question test, and to complete once you have passed that test with 80% or better, you will be able to print out your own certificates. So again, my name is Jacqueline Linder. Feel free to call me at any time. My number here at the food bank is 596-7188, extension 103. Have a great day and happy food safety.